Coming up on episode 67 of the JRPG Report, we've got smartphone discussions from Nippon Ichi. We've got new Trails information about the status of the series and a boatload of information to talk about Atelier Ryza coming up next on the JRPG Report. Hello friends, welcome back to the podcast that gives into that craving for JRPGs that you have every week. My name is James Fisher. This is going to be episode 67 of the JRPG Report. And if you can't tell, my throat is a bit raspy this week. I don't know exactly what's going on. I've been feeling a little for the past couple of days. So we will try to get through this one together. I did want to put out a podcast as we're celebrating the 4th of July here in America tomorrow and give you a little something to listen to over your holiday break perhaps. And if you're outside the U.S., well, you just get another podcast as usual. We've got a good amount of things to talk about this week. Let's just kind of start off with some of the more quick hits. We did have a couple of release dates to talk about, and one of those is we are getting, I still don't exactly know how to pronounce this, so I just do my best. You guys probably know what I'm talking about. Langrisser, Langrisser 1 and 2, well, they are coming west for PS4, Switch, and PC in early 2020. This one is available on smartphones, I believe, right now. I've seen it advertised a couple times. Things like to pop up on your Instagram feed, and so this one keeps popping up for me to take a look at. But they are announcing that NIS America says we will get it in the West here sometime in early 2020, and that is part 1 and 2 for PS4, Switch, and Steam via on your PC. A limited edition of the game, a 2-disc original soundtrack, 3-disc Songs of War soundtrack, a visual art book, set of art book cards. Those are all available in a collector's box. Those are for pre-order on the NIS America online store. That's just for PS4 and Switch. These are harkening back to early Super Nintendo or early PlayStation days graphics. For strategy RPG fans, they are classics. They say for the first part, they say the forces of darkness are descended upon the kingdom of Balda. Take up your sword as Prince Ledin and discover the evil that lies in the heart of the Dalsis Empire. For part 2, of course, the forces of darkness once again threaten the realm. Thrust in between warring factions, it's up to our hero, Elwyn, to navigate this war and determine which path will bring peace to the conflict. Langrisser 1 and 2 is returning to both classic stories of good and evil, now remade in beautiful high-definition visuals, reorchestrated music, and quality of life improvements to the gameplay and user experience that have made these SRPGs truly legendary. So fans, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer for this one to come out. And it's always funny when you take a 20-something-year-old game and it's still going to take another half a year to come out. So yeah, you have to wait a little bit longer for that. But like I said, there is a mobile version of those available now if you just can't wait. I don't have a release date for this one yet, but we did, Compile Heart has announced that Death End Request 2 has been announced for PS4. There was originally another story, then the update broke today via Weekly Famitsu. The release date and price have yet to be determined. The game follows three girls living in a women's dormitory who get caught up in mysterious phenomena and conspiracies as boarding students go missing, one after another. It is set in a fictional town called Les Sora, which was created in the image of Southeastern Europe, rather. So that's still very early. All there is just a single screenshot to kind of go by. And this one probably a ways off, but they, if you're a fan of the first one, you've got another one coming out. Although they do say you do not have to have played the first game to enjoy the sequel. Not exactly sure what that means, and if they're going to include a synopsis from the first one, or if it's just not directly related to it. I've shared this video over on the JRPG Report Facebook page. There is a new video for Fire Emblem Three Houses, and this one introduces the Black Eagles, one of the three noble houses at the Officers Academy. You can go over there and check that out. Of course, Fire Emblem Three Houses is due out for the Switch not too much longer, on July 26th. Speaking of the Switch, Harvest Moon Friends of Mineral Town remake has been announced for the Switch. It'll be coming out in Japan on October 17th. This is a remake of the Game Boy Advance titles Harvest Moon Friends of Mineral Town and Harvest Moon More Friends of Mineral Town. Because you just can't have enough friends in Mineral Town. Yeah, you got a lot of farming to do. You got to make time for that. No news on a Western release, but those games have typically made their way over here, so I would anticipate we get a winter release for that at some point in time. I also shared this video over on the Facebook page. Dragon Quest Builders 2 has released a multiplayer trailer. In Dragon Quest Builders 2, players can team up with friends up to 4-player online multiplayer. Players can customize their character, visit friends' islands, and build together. It's already available on PS4 and Switch in Japan. We'll begin it here in North America and Europe in just a few more days on July 12th. And if you'd like to check out, there is a demo for that already on the PS Store or Nintendo Store as well, if you want to check that out and see what it's like. I played the first one just a little bit on the demo, and it was enjoyable, but it's just one of those games that I couldn't see myself spending money on, if that makes any sense. You can get a certain amount of enjoyment, whether it's a demo or something you download on your phone or tablet, because it's free. There's a cost analysis to everything. So if I were to sit down and have to pay money for something like this, I don't know if it's really something that's my cup of tea. A lot of people love it, and that's great, but just not something I really want to get into. I shared this image with you guys, I think a couple of days ago when it first came out on Monday, I believe. But we got a new character image for Kasumi for Persona 5 Royal. It is her persona, Cendrillon. I believe it's what we're going to call her. Cendrillon. Very unique looking character. It almost looks to be made out of crystal or ice of some sort. So you can definitely see the dancer influence to her. One of the more interesting aspects is on her chest is a rather large clock with a jewel at the middle. Not sure what that is about. I guess that's something that will be more talked about as we get into the game, but I dare say we're going to get a stream of information every few weeks or so about this game, and this was just one more thing. It's a very awesome looking character design, to say the least, and just kind of fueling that fire a little bit more and more for when this game will finally get to us sometime this fall. Let's take a quick break and thank our sponsor Anchor for their platform and let us do all we do here on the JRPG Report. So I teased it there in the intro. Let's talk a little bit more about what exactly is going on over at Nipponichi. We reported a little while ago about some financial problems perhaps over at the company, mostly because of what they were trying to do with their smartphone development of one of the Skya titles. And so in the latest issue of Weekly Famitsu, they kind of talked a little bit more about what they're trying to do, and they want to reveal a game variety smartphone app, which will be a free download in Japan. They had a interview with the company CEO. Oh boy, Sohei Nakawa. Sorry if I butchered that name. That's the best I got. So, Game Variety is a portal app for other downloadable apps from Nippon Ichi. The app allows you to search and purchase other apps as well. So he kind of goes into saying, here's some of the tidbits from that interview. He believes the company needs a system to keep many types of users engaged in their software in order to keep the company in business for many years to come. There's a large demand for portable game consoles in Japan. This is why this has all come about. Okay, so as different as Japan and America and the rest of the world is, Japan relies on public transport probably more than most places. So the gaming market, and this is one reason why the Switch is so popular and why they made it in the first place, is you've got a lot of train commute time, okay? You need something to play on the go. That's why the 3DS and Game Boy Advance and DS and everything has been so popular, and why the Vita was popular for a good while there too. There's just a lot of time that people can spend playing a portable console. You know, a little bit different here in Japan. It's kind of hard, or in the Americas and elsewhere. You know, if you got a long commute in your car, you can't exactly break out the portable gaming system. So, but more than anything, it's vital to their success, and so they know everybody's got a phone in their pocket anyway. Why not develop titles for that? And I'm not against that at all. That's very smart. They just got to do it right. And I think that's kind of what they are, kind of what they're saying, that they plan to release 1 to 2 smartphone titles per month, that the games are from the original PlayStation era. They're planning for release. There's also plans to borrow titles from other companies to put on this platform. They are looking to release, I believe this was a PS1 game, Rhapsody, a musical adventure. That if it does well, they may lead to the development of a sequel for it. In the future, they say Nippon Ichi would like to launch new titles simultaneously on smartphones and consoles, and is building an environment to make that possible. The company's basis will continue to be on consoles, however, mobile will play a larger and larger part, and he is looking into adapting to Skya as well. Well, yeah, that's what you did. That's why you got into trouble there for a little bit. So when you first, especially when I first read that, I thought, oh no, they are doubling down on this smartphone idea, that this could be bad news. But it's inevitable. It's what the company has to do. It's almost like if they ignore that it could be more costly in the long run. So you have to invest in it while you can and try to make it work. And I think this is a different approach to it. They look like they've got some things they can develop very cheaply and get them out there in a timely fashion and kind of build a following on phones. All this, I doubt we're ever going to see anything like that outside Japan. But if you're a fan of this guy and other Nippon Ichi games, this is good news, because they are definitely trying to right the ship and make the company profitable to keep on bringing you the games that you love. I haven't seen a whole lot about this game until recently, and this is certainly not a traditional JRPG, but it's a game that looks pretty interesting, and that's called Black Desert. We got a release date for it of August 22nd. Developer Pearl Abyss announced. You can pre-order it now on the PlayStation Store. And there will be a 48 hours early access as well if you decide to do that. Of course, the game is already available on Xbox One and PC. There's also mobile versions of the game. They've got over 20 million registered users worldwide. And if you take a look at the trailer, you can kind of see why. It's an impressive looking title. And it looks like it could be a lot of fun. But yeah, we'll be finally making its way to PS4 on August 22nd. I believe I shared... I'm almost positive I put that trailer on the page for you. If not, check back and I will have done that for you guys. I'm just kind of looking at it right now to make sure. No, okay. I will put that on you there so you guys can check out that one as well. Bandai Namco has announced an online action RPG, Blue Protocol. This one's coming out just for PC. I'm hoping that this one kind of makes its way over to consoles as well, because it looks really, really cool. In their own worlds, it is an overwhelming graphics along the line of anime movies. It looks like an anime. If you just think of the screenshot, you would think it's from anime. You wouldn't think this was a game at all. And, you know, being Bandai Namco, I can't see why they wouldn't try to put this one over on there. We'll just have to wait to see. So the logo has the following tagline: "The world on the brink of devastation. Now is the time to unite. March on with friends and strangers and defeat foes beyond your might. Travel through space and time to change the future beyond this fight." They say more information will be upcoming about this game, as this is pretty much just an announcement. Not a whole lot to go off at this point, but if you can be excited about a single screenshot, well, I am. I'm not going to play it on PC, but I would definitely be open to looking at a console version, should that come about. We talked about last week that Falcom was doing the whole Legend of Heroes 15th anniversary commemoration and new title start ? Special broadcast. Well, that happened, and we did get some more information, but it's kind of fuzzy information. Without having seen it, it's hard to kind of tell exactly what's going on. So what they did was the previous image, this was shared a while ago. It was the image of Rick Samayo, a young man from Nord who looks like he could be Gaius's younger brother just grown up. And then there's a picture of Scarlet as well from Trails of Cold Steel. And then the map of Zemeria, which on the left half of it is, you can tell what's going on. You can see all the provinces and different factions, but the entire right side of the continent is all blacked out. There may be some foreshadowing as to maybe that we're going into that part. We're not exactly sure. So here's what's interesting. The information that we have is basically from the latest issue of Dengeki PlayStation. And so we've got 3 pictures to go by. And the one that we know about is going on, it kind of shows a bunch of Trails characters, but then there's 2 new ones that have not been introduced yet. And they kind of got their backs to them, kind of looking forward. So that's where the speculation begins on who these people are. The other image we have is definitely Reen and his sister in Ymir. It looks like it may be more springtime as there's less snow on the ground. It looks gorgeous, but it's definitely Reen's outfit from Trails of Cold Steel 3. Then there's a new character that there's been some speculation on who that is, but her back is turned and she's saluting or covering her eyes. We're not exactly sure what she's doing, and looking off in the distance. So here's what we learned from it. The project began with the development of a new game engine The graphics are also being enhanced. And it clearly says it may be difficult to see in the screenshots given the fact that they are printed on paper, but the characters and background scenery are quite upgraded from Trails of Cold Steel 4, which here in the West we've still not even seen glimpses of, really. The situations and characters shown in the screenshots are meant to be hints regarding the next title. So here's what I've also kind of deemed. The new title is meant to be a follow-up or spin-off game. Since crossbow characters have appeared, many people might think, what about that person? So it is a game that will show things like, what did that person do at that time? What are they doing after? It sounds like there's 2 games in development, okay? It does sound like there's going to be a Cold Steel spin-off, and then here is going to be a new one. So we talked about that first image that showed the kid from Nord and Scarlet. That sounds like that's going to be kind of the spin-off, and then the new characters with their backs turned, that sounds like it could be another title. So it does sound like there's 2 titles in development, and we're still a ways off. I kind of, just about looking at it, I don't see why these wouldn't be PS4 games, to be quite honest, that they would be games that might come out at the very end of the life cycle for the system, because you're only talking about Cold Steel 3 and 4 being developed on this hardware. It kind of makes sense that they would do that, at least a spin-off on that hardware as well. Kondo also answered the question of whether previous entries in the Trails series would come to PS4, or if there are any plans on developing more Evolution titles, which was enhanced releases of the older ones. He says, quote, "Us too. We don't like the fact that options to play our past works disappear with time." Honestly, it's the same problem I've run into with trying to play the Trails in the Sky series. He said, "I would like to believe our games are limitless, but consoles change over time. Due to that, we want to leave an option to play them in some way. The Trail series especially will continue on still, so that will be nice to look back on past titles. Right now, we want to prepare something that can be played on PS4, so we're working on something behind the scenes." Kondo continued, "If we're talking about a simple port, it wouldn't be very hard at all. But if the graphics rendering method changes, then it becomes fairly difficult." He finally said, "I want to promise to deliver something in some form." It could not be any more ambiguous than that. But it sounds like they are trying to remake, at least I would say, the Sky series, and maybe put that as a 3-part collection to come out on PS4. I don't see why they wouldn't, considering how well Cold Steel 1 and 2 did when they re-released those. So we'll just have to wait and see what exactly happens with that. But I'm fairly confident we're going to see a new Trails game here announced fairly soon. Maybe after Cold Steel 3 comes out, when they announce when Cold Steel 4 is going to finally come westward. So there's a lot of Trails series information coming up from Falcom here shortly. It's a very exciting time to be a fan of this series, and kind of sounds like a perfect time to kind of jump into everything if you've been holding off so far. So the last thing I want to talk about, and it seems like we're going to talk about this every week, the Atelier Ryza, the Ever Darkness and Secret Hideout. Some new information came out about that. The Japanese electronics retailer Softmap released a kind of a posting on it, and there was a gameplay trailer that came out, and I've actually shared that on the Facebook page as well. It showed a few things that we've already seen before, but it really showed a lot of gameplay in there. And this game really is starting to look impressive. Very intriguing, especially since we know that it's coming out later this year. Starting to get pretty excited about it. It subsequently disappeared offline, but not before. People could really sink their teeth into it and share it. And I think it got pulled so quickly because Koei Tecmo and Gust will have a first-line play footage demo, live stream of it, rather, on July 9th at 2100 Japan Central Time. You can watch that on YouTube. Just search for it and you'll find out. It says, addition to the world's first live gameplay, the live stream will introduce the charming points of the game's setting and protagonist, Ryza, as well as some of its systems. They'll have the presenters will be the voice actors for Ryza, character designer for this one, as well as previous Atelier title character designers as well, and the producer Hoizoi as well will be present. We kind of talked about a few things in the last podcast. We talked about the premium op box. Well, they've got the art for that came out. Some more details about some of the characters that we kind of mentioned in passing, but there was a whole slew of that information that came out. One thing I thought was really interesting that is that you talked about being a master gatherer by using a variety of tools that when they were out and about, obviously, like you've seen this in other titles, if there's a rock that you need to collect, that you would break out your pickaxe, and you would mine that. Apparently in this one, if you want to get some wood and chop down a tree, well, you'll break out your axe and you'll chop down a tree. Lumber is obviously a very, very needed commodity in these games. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like, for example, if you want to gather fruit from a tree, you'd want to hit it with your staff and it'll drop some fruit. Although if you want to cut it with an axe, it'll give you timber. I don't know if literally like the tree's going to fall and you're going to take it out. It may not be taking it to that extreme, but at least it's pretty cool that they've thought about that. They've thought about that a little bit more than just, hey, let me go over to this tree. It's got a shining spark on it. Let's just do that. But there's a new creation system as well for gathering point synthesis. Somehow you can create a field on which you can gather materials by synthesis. So maybe you can kind of do... I think we're going to have a lot more information about this in that live stream as well. These are kind of just talking points that they're going to be discussing a little bit longer along the ways. But yeah, just a very promising looking title. Like every screenshot that I see, it's like you had the basis for it. And I mean, how many games have there been now? I don't know, 10? So the series has had a while to kind of get its feet wet and know what it's doing. And this looks like they finally said, okay, we've been making these JRPGs for a while. Let's step up to varsity. We'll have to wait and see if that actually holds true or not. But I'm excited for where the series may be headed to here in the near future. So I had an interesting conversation with my friend Jordan on the JRPG Report Facebook page. And you can chime in as well. I'm always up for talking about titles and opinions and what about this and that. And he asked me an interesting question. I just want to share a bit of our conversation. I think he says he's going back through his backlog and trying to decide what to play next. And this is obviously a problem that we all face from time to time. If nothing's really out at the moment that you want to pick up, hey, maybe you don't have $60, or maybe you don't have $20 or $30 to go and pick up a game. And just on a completely side rant, you may not be able to go and get it even if you wanted to. If you live in a place like I do, it is not easy to get physical copies of JRPGs. I mean, I'm not talking about Final Fantasy 15. You could go walk down the street and probably find a copy of that laying around somewhere. But, obviously we've got GameStop, but do you want to deal with all that hassle? Anybody can order off Amazon and pay that, of course, but so anyway, he's going through it and staring at his backlog and trying to decide if he wants to. He was wondering what I thought of Dragon Quest XI or Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Now, in the past 2 years, these are two of my favorite titles that I have played. I understand. Obviously, I think Dragon Quest XI has been more universally liked, and kudos to it. Xenoblade Chronicles 2, especially from people that I've actually spoken to, is a divisive title that I think either people love it or hate it. Now, I fell into the love it category, and so my response to him was, if I had to pick between the two, it's kind of like picking your favorite kid, right? I love them both quite dearly, but didn't know which one. I didn't have an immediate response, so I sat there and I thought about it, and I was like, well, this guy's obviously looking to put in 80 to 100 hours into a game, and if I had to pick one, it's going to be Dragon Quest. And mostly because I know it's more universally loved. I can tell you I probably put more hours into Xenoblade 2, purely because I think there was more things to do, and I haven't completely completed Dragon Quest XI yet. So that was my answer. Obviously, it's pure turn-based in Dragon Quest XI, so I kind of said that as well. And you can't help but say that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 definitely suffered being on the Switch. I would have really loved to see that on PS4, see how it would have worked. But that's just my opinion. You can get onto the Facebook page and kind of check out all that stuff and ask me a question. We'll talk about it. That's going to wrap up this week's JRPG Report, episode 67. I think I made it through. My voice still intact, so that's good. Thank you so much for taking a listen. We'll be back next week, hopefully, with some more cool things to talk about. And but until then, guys, get back out there and level up.